All right. So have you ever like looked in the mirror and you're like, is my hair thinner?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like it's like a universal worry
Is.
that at some point we're like, oh my God, am I losing my hair?
Yeah.
But today we're going to deep dive into hair loss.
Yes, we are.
We're going to figure out why it happens,
Absolutely.
and what we can maybe do about it.
Yeah.
And to do that, we are going to be using a really interesting conversation
Yeah.
between two people as our source material today.
Two people having a conversation.
Yeah, so let's jump right in.
Okay, cool.
So the conversation starts out, and one of the people's like really worried about their hair loss,
Oh, yeah.
and the other person's like, well, the most common reason for hair loss is something called telogen effluvium,
Telogen effluvium.
which, I mean, it sounds intimidating, right?
It does.
So can you just like break that down for us?
Yeah, so telogen effluvium, it's a big word,
It is.
but it's not as scary as it sounds. Essentially what's happening is your hair follicles, those tiny little sacs in your skin where each hair grows from,
Yeah.
they go through these cycles, of growing, resting, and shedding.
Okay.
But when you have telogen effluvium, something triggers like a whole bunch of those hairs to enter that resting phase all at once.
Okay, so like more than usual.
Yeah, way more than usual. And then they just kind of like shed.
Ah, okay.
So that's why you might suddenly see more hair in your brush or, the drain.
Oh, like all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what is going on?
Exactly.
And I feel like stress was something they talked about in this conversation.
Absolutely. They talked about stress a lot.
And I know for me, like when I'm stressed, I feel like everything is just out of whack.
Yeah.
So how does stress actually like connect to hair loss?
Well, when we're stressed, right, our bodies like freak out.
Yeah.
Like it's a threat.
Yeah.
So it releases all these hormones, like cortisol, adrenaline, and it's basically like this fight or flight response, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So our body's like got to focus on like survival right now. And so it diverts all these resources away from like less essential functions.
Like hair growth.
Yeah, hair growth, like who cares about hair when you're running from a tiger?
Right.
The problem is in modern life, like we're not usually running from tigers,
Right.
but our body's still reacting the same way to like work deadlines and traffic.
So that's so interesting. So you're telling me like if I am super stressed, I'm more likely to lose my hair.
Potentially, yeah. It really depends on, your individual sensitivity and genetics,
Okay.
but it is definitely a common trigger.
Okay. So we've got stress, and they talked about diet too.
Oh, yeah. Diet's huge.
They're like not getting enough vitamins, not enough iron.
It's so important.
Yeah. And so like how does the food we eat actually like affect our hair?
Well, think of it this way. Like your hair follicles, they're like little tiny plants, right?
Okay.
And they need the right nutrients to grow, to be strong.
Yeah.
For example, iron, that's really important for carrying oxygen to your hair follicles.
So it's like feeding the hair.
Feeding the hair, exactly. Yeah. And then you have zinc, which is great for your scalp, keeps it healthy.
Okay.
And of course, protein. Yeah. Protein's like the building block of hair.
It's like the material, like the bricks.
Exactly. Yeah. And then biotin's really important for processing that protein.
Okay.
So if you're not getting enough of those nutrients,
your hair's going to be like sad.
Your hair's going to be sad. Yeah, it's going to be weaker. It's going to be more prone to breakage.
Okay. So we've talked about things where maybe control, like stress and diet. But then they also brought up something that's kind of like out of our hands.
Yeah, genetics.
Yeah.
Can't escape those genes.
You can't.
Right.
So what role does family history actually play in hair loss?
Well, it can be a big factor.
Okay.
Because if hair loss runs in your family, you might inherit genes that basically make your hair follicles more sensitive to certain hormones, especially one called DHT.
DHT. Okay.
And this sensitivity can lead to like gradual thinning over time or hair loss.
That's a bummer.
I know it's not what you want to hear.
Yeah, but I mean, like they did say in the conversation, though, that a lot of times hair loss is temporary.
Exactly. That's the good news.
That is good news.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where establishing a healthy routine really comes in.
Okay, so what does that mean?
Well, first off, manage that stress.
Okay.
Find ways to chill out, whether it's, exercise, meditation, spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Like, don't underestimate the power of just like de-stressing.
Okay, good to know.
And then, of course, diet, make sure you're getting those vital nutrients.
Okay. I've heard a lot about biotin supplements. Like, are those actually helpful?
There's some evidence that they can be helpful if you're actually deficient in biotin.
Okay.
But honestly, most people get enough through their diet.
Okay.
So it's always best to focus on eating a balanced diet first. And then if you're concerned, talk to your doctor about supplements.
Got it. This has been so interesting. I've learned so much.
Me too.
And it makes me think, like, have you ever paid attention to, like, when your hair loss is worse?
Oh, yeah.
Is it, like, seasonal?
Yeah.
Is it when you're stressed?
Definitely.
You know, like, maybe there's some clues in your own life that could help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, paying attention to those patterns can really give you a better understanding of what might be triggering it.
Totally. And I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is, like, that initial shedding. It can be scary, but
It's not the end of the world.
yeah, it's usually not like a sign that something's permanently wrong.
Exactly.
So with a little attention,
Size.
managing hair loss,
Yeah.
it's possible.
Totally.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for deep diving with me today.
Thanks for having me.
This has been really enlightening.
It has.
I feel like we've learned so much.
We have.
And to our listeners,
Yeah.
don't panic about the hair in the drain.
It's going to be okay.
You got this.
You got this.
Until next time.